Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, for some Flyers, the future is now, and for others, it's only begun. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi, guys, and welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And, well, I got to tell you, folks, we're sorry we didn't get a chance to be with you last week. We each had our own little bout with Ida.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to say battle with Mother Nature, yeah.
Yeah, we each had our bout with Ida, and of course we both lost. Because, you know, when you fight Mother Nature, you lose. So, yeah, Lance, why don't you tell us what happened in your area and what happened to you?
Sure. Well, I had a nice lightning strike somewhere either on my house or in the yard that lit up the entire backyard and left our ears ringing for about 2 days. It was so,
oh my gosh,
right on top of us, and I lost all internet, TV, the garage door, all kinds of stuff randomly like burn out, and yeah. So I was without you know, internet to do the show even. So
yeah, right. So even if we had okay. So, oh my gosh. Well, at least everybody's safe, right?
Right.
And everything's restored and you're all good and everything's good, right?
Besides the garage door opener, yeah. I got to get that still fixed. Just parts ordered.
Okay, because it was like basically an EMP went off when that lightning strike did, and it basically just fried everything. You know what I mean?
Some stuff that was even on surge protectors. So, go figure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, all right. Well, at least everybody's okay and safe and everything's good, right?
Yes.
All right, bonus. So at SteelFlyers All Sports Network Studios, the power went out on Wednesday during the remnants of Hurricane Ida. And our area received 6.57 inches of rain. 6.57 inches of rain in the span of 28 hours. So we lost power at 5 o'clock. We got power back on at about 4:30 the next day. Unfortunately, it didn't stop raining until 10 o'clock the next day. So there was about 3.5 inches of water in our basement.
Indoor swimming pool, nice.
Yes, you could pretty much stand at the top of the step of the basement and dive. No, I wouldn't dive in, but yeah. So because the power went out, the sump pump stopped running. So there you go. Now, a big shout out to my man Chef, who rang me up and asked me if everything was okay, because I actually posted the fact that we got flooded and all that stuff and lost power on my Facebook page. And Chef called me up because he works for Summit Public Adjusters and said, "Hey man, is everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man." I said, "I'm good." You know, we were able to get a generator, which that took a day and a half to get, you know, and all that other stuff. So we're ready for the next one. But it was cool that he called. And so thank you very much. Big shout out to Chef. Appreciate that, man, for the shout out. And, you know, thanks for looking out for me, man. Really appreciate that. So I'm glad to see that you're back and running, Lance, right?
I am.
Okay. So with that being said, we're going to get into the show that we're going to have for you. Yeah, that we're going to have for you this week. Hey, how about a show this week? What do you know? All right. For some Flyers, the future is now, and for others, it has only just begun. And posted just a few days ago on the FlyersNittyGritty.com, the 2022 NHL Draft is where the Flyers will be able to draft their future right-hand shot defenseman. And I know that talking about the 2022 draft might be a tad early. I get it. But seriously, you can never really be too early to be looking ahead, right? Especially for the need that the Flyers have that they haven't quite all the way filled yet, which is that, really good right-hand shot defenseman that is going to be able to check all the boxes. Instead of doing it by committee, we need to have that one guy that can do it all in one shot. You know what I'm saying? And with this article, I believe you address such players that could fill that role in the future for the Flyers. These are guys that could potentially be for the 2022 draft, right?
Right, for sure. These guys, yes. Anytime the draft is over, there's certain guys within the team system. Brent Flair, especially the Flyers assistant GM, is going to start next season, the day after the draft. They're already starting to look for guys for the next coming draft. Yes, you have to start scouting. Yeah, there's so many different leagues all over the world. You have to, get a jump on things for sure. And this, like any other year, is a little bit different because normally the Flyers will just go after that best available player. A lot of teams tend to do that because you don't know what you're going to necessarily need or who's going to develop in that time span until they're ready. But in this token, the Flyers lacked right-hand shot defensemen for a long time. We had Myers. We traded him because he wasn't really what we were hoping that he would be. And we'll just put it nicely and leave it at that. And, we went out and got, Chuck went out and got, two very good right-hand shot defensemen, but you still need stuff for the future, players, prospects to develop for the future. And as of right now, the Flyers only have one real right-hand shot defenseman who is signed, and that being Wyatt Wiley, the team's 2018 fifth round pick. Now, while I like him, that's a lot to put on that guy's shoulders to be that one player. Teams need a little depth in that spot. We have a lot of good left-hand shot defensemen coming up, obviously with York and Zumla and Mason Millman, among others. But the right-hand shot is very concerning and is depleted and is definitely harder to find in that token. With that being said, this draft, like none other in recent memory, has a plethora of different right-hand shot defensemen to choose from that are going to go within the first two rounds, especially. So this is why I said they're probably going to take that right-hand shot defenseman, one of these guys, if they're still available when they draft, who hopefully that's at 30, 32, 33 now, whatever, with the Seattle in there. So fingers crossed. But there's still be, even if they do it at that point, there'll still be some darn good right-hand shot defensemen on the board at that time. So,
okay, well, like I said, it's never too early to start looking ahead, and you touched on it in your opening remarks about the fact that the Flyers have a plethora of left-hand shot defensemen, and that was, all thanks to Ron Hextall and in part to Chuck Fletcher. What he's been able to draft in the last couple of years that he's been here, and then most of all the defensemen that Ron Hextall has drafted as well too are the left-hand shot defensemen. I'm very intrigued by this list of players that you got here in this article. These names don't really come out to me as guys that the team would be looking at, and maybe they should be. I mean, does that make sense to you? Like, based off of what they've done in the past, okay, they've concentrated on that smaller, less than 6 foot, less than 200-pound, left-hand shot defenseman who's more worried about putting the puck in the back of the net than he is about being what he actually is, and that's a defenseman.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, is that kind of what we're looking at here with these guys that you have on this article?
Well, I'm not 100% sure what Chuck Fletcher's really looking at now, because I think that this past offseason has really shifted focus to all the things that we've said on this show numerous times that he needed to be looking for, and he wasn't prior to that.
Yeah.
He was able to check all those boxes and really bring in AV type players, bring in physical players, bring in some bigger players with Restalainen, and different things. So I think he may have seen the light there and know now what he needs to do to bring them in. I think it was hard to come in to a wealth of prospects that Hextall left him, and I think he took some time to really sort out and see what they would progress to be in, because a lot of them were very highly touted prospects, especially on the defensive end, but didn't really turn out to be that Flyers type player, we'll say nicely.
Well, maybe it's not that they didn't turn out to be a Flyers player. They just didn't turn out to be a AV player.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, no, but I mean, if you really look at what's going on here, the writing was on the wall at the end of this past season where, look, things needed to drastically change and or else. Okay. And I think what Fletcher has done to this team has addressed a lot of those issues, has put those things that were of need, of concern, as a priority, and made those moves, got the space to make those moves, got rid of some contracts to make those moves. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now to the point where this team potentially, I believe, in my opinion, has a few things going for them. A, they have some guys on the team that could be either a depth and or fodder with everything that's happened this whole past off season. Okay. And I really like that first part being depth, because if you look at the last, 5 years of teams that have won the Stanley Cup, they've all had good depth. And let's face it, the Flyers, once you get past the top two lines from the Flyers, I mean, it significantly dropped off. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not asking to be able to just say, yeah, let's just roll all four lines and be able to have, superstars on all four lines. But you don't need to have superstars on all four lines, but you need to be able to roll at least three good lines and then throw a bruiser line out there, a checking line, or an energy line, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think, for sure. The times of the Legion of Doom going out there and scoring, 150 points or more, darn near 200, whatever, points a season as one line, and winning games and taking you deep into the playoffs are kind of gone. And with teams that still haven't conformed to that depth, as you were saying, with like Tampa Bay and others that have been successful, like even the Islanders, have three very good full lines, and then that checking fourth line that you said, it tends to show. Like, I mean, look at the Penguins. I mean, how far has Crosby taken them in the past? But to date, now they're not really, the same kind of team. Their veterans are getting old, yes, but they're not able to carry them like they once did. And not, like you said, not everybody needs to be star players, but they need to be role players. They need to understand their role and what they need to bring each and every night. And that's not always 20 goals a season. Some players need to hit, some players need to penalty kill. And I think, and so on and so forth, but, and going on with that is the successful teams doing so, and finding those role players, those guys that can be, pluses while they're out on the ice and not going to hurt you, and be in a need to hurry up and get them off and put back out your star players who aren't fully rested yet.
Yeah. I'm so tired of seeing players on the Flyers that are just out there to give the star players a breather, and they're not even out there that long, because the star players really haven't been rested for that long either. You know what I mean? And so, but I think this team has made some major steps in the offseason as far as now what they can look forward to in the 2022 draft. We've got a plethora of left-hand shot defensemen. We've got those guys lined up all the way around. We need some goaltending in-house. We need some right-hand shot defensemen, and we need some shoot first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And there you go. So let's get into some of these guys here that you talk about in this article here. And I want to talk about the first fellow that you got on the list here, and talk to me about David Jerich.
Jerich.
All right.
I've heard it pronounced a couple of different ways depending on who's calling the game. So we'll go with
David.
David. Well, David is a really, really awesome talent. I think he's going to go much higher than hopefully what the Flyers will be drafting at. But we'll talk about him anyway because he's such a outstanding talent. He is 6'3" already. He does weigh about 176. Probably more towards the start of the season will be around 180 pounds. He is just 17 years old still. He already plays in Czech's top league, professional league, as a 17-year-old, which is amazing. And he has one of the most lethal one-timers in this draft, and potentially one that could rival most NHLers, to be honest. He just knows how to wheel that thing at the exact time and get some velocity behind it for sure. So
it definitely takes a bit of a different skill set to do that one-timer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially, all you have to do is look at Ovechkin.
Yeah.
He's I have never seen anybody LaFontaine, I believe, was another one that was really good, especially at the top of the circle there. You know what I mean? Or in the slot with that one-timer coming off the side. Oh my God. But anyway.
It's definitely rare. A lot of people can rip a slap shot or a strong wrist shot very quickly, but to be able to take that shot and not stop that puck first is, what gives you that edge if you're able to do it and do it, with some power behind it. And, David can for sure. So that's why I think he's going to be probably, drafted well before the Flyers hopefully are drafting this next round. But who knows? Towards the start of the season, there can be any number of prospects that come out of nowhere and have had a monumental growth spurt or advance in their game to be able to back them up a little bit. But we'll see. He could get injured and fall. Who knows?
But still, though, an interesting prospect out there that the Flyers should at least keep an eyeball out there, at least on.
For sure.
One of the other players that you talk about in the article is a Simon Anemic as well. And talk to me about him, man.
So, again, he is a player that plays in his country's top league. He's from Slovakia, and he plays in their top league over there at just 17 years old again. He is 6'2" and 192 pounds already at just 17 years old. So he has that NHL frame already. But unlike
oh, that stupid grin on my face. 17, he's already built like that. All right.
Right, yes. Unlike David, though, he's more of a puck distributor. he is going to get it and pass that perfect pass right to the stick blade of his awaiting player to be able to do that. He does have a pretty powerful shot from the point as well, but it's more likely to get redirected in front of the net, or a nice juicy rebound gets put back in for a goal. So that's his game to a T. But he's had a lot of success even this year already. He was the most valuable player at the Hinka Gretzky Cup. So, I mean, amazing talent, and definitely, World Juniors, all that. Same difference with David before him. Played in the World Juniors, excelled there, had a very strong showing. Both these guys are going to go pretty darn high. And rightfully so in my mind. They're just two tremendous talents that are going to be out there, and with them playing overseas, they may take a little bit more time to develop, but yet again, they're already playing pros. They're already playing 30-year-old men versus junior hockey over here playing against 16, 17, 18-year-old kids.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's I couldn't express my goofy grin anymore, with that one. Go Simon. So we're all looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
Sheamus Casey is another fine example of what the Flyers are looking for. And talk to me about Mr. Casey.
So again, all these guys are right-hand shot defensemen, and Sheamus is one of my favorite out of this group. He is a little smaller than the rest. He stands at just 5'11".
So he fits that mold, that the Flyers have been drafting lately. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Right. and he's just touching 160s for weight. So he's a little light too, but he is a tremendous talent. He plays currently for the United States Development Program. And that is just an absolute factory of talent over the past few years. Yep. He's already committed to playing to the University of Michigan. And he's right. That is a tremendous program, as we know, with Cam York and everything. So, but interesting note is that he's from Florida, like one other Flyers defenseman from the past now, who was. But we'll leave it at that. But he's an absolute magnet when he has the puck. And what I mean by that is he is one player that can take it from behind his goal crease, travel up the ice with it, passing through everybody on his way. And as he dips and dives through these opposition players, he draws more into them. And what does that do? That opens up all his teammates to be able to be wide open, because he's just dancing and diving through these. I'm telling you guys, in a Philadelphia terms, think Allen Iverson on skates. Okay. This guy has amazing handles, toe drags, everything that just breaks ankles.
Because AI, man, was like his office was the paint.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's where his office was, man. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, all right. Hey.
This guy can dance through everybody, and he will take it to the mouth of the goal crease and try to make a play happen. And the only knock I have for him is sometimes he can hold on to the puck a little too much. And being from Florida, I think that's probably why. As it's slowly turning out more prospects to be able to make it to this level of play, at the same time, it's probably you're not playing with the same caliber player as, you're the stereotypical, upstate New York guys or guys from Michigan are playing with, so he had to do it more on his own before.
Yeah, I get you.
I think that'll come around as the talent meets up to him, like with the United States developmental program, he's going to be more able to make a pass and not have to do it all himself.
Yeah.
But this is a amazing player in my mind. I really, really like this guy, and I really think that even though it may take, essentially a year or two for him to develop after being drafted, probably like Cam York did going to Michigan, I think this guy is going to be somebody to watch in years to come.
See, that's what I was just going to say. I think going to Michigan is really going to I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but it's going to either say yay or nay.
Yeah.
Okay, if he can make it at Michigan, then he can make it anywhere. But you know what I mean, though.
Personally, I think he should have taken his talents to Notre Dame, but I'm kind of biased. I like Notre Dame. But
okay,
yeah,
I get you.
But I'm going to be definitely watching him when he does. Go to, it's still a while yet. I think it's after next season, but he's already committed, and that says something as well, to be already committed to a school and before this season even takes place. So.
Exactly. And with him being in the United States developmental program and then going to a very good Big Ten hockey school in Michigan.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. That says a lot about it. All right. Finally, we'll move on to the last player here in this list of this quartet that you have in this article here, and we're talking about out of the queue, Tristan Lane.
Yeah, I think you nailed that. French Canadian for sure. He does have size again. He's 6'2" already with 174 pounds, so not as heavy as some of the others, but he is probably one of the better overall talents, and I think that this guy will be available when the Flyers make their selection, because he doesn't overly impress in anything he does, but he does everything well. And that's important. He's not flashy. He doesn't go score 20 goals a year, but he also is not letting them in either. He makes very few mistakes. And for that, he was named the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League's best defensive rookie last season. Like I said, a very strong player who has a very good head on his shoulders already, and just plays that mistake-free hockey that right on par with the best NHL defenseman when you think of that. So I think that a bunch of teams are going to be looking at him after this season and standing up and taking notice if they haven't already, because he's just a solid player already, and there's not much to fix there once you draft him.
I like this quartet of players. These players have that, like they could be a Flyer.
Right.
I don't know how else to say it, like they would fit in orange and black. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And I swear to you, this draft, I could do another 4 or 5 players that are all right-hand shot defensemen and have a whole nother one of these. That is the amount of right-hand shot talent on the blue line that is coming out in this draft. That is why I'm saying, to heck with the best available player. I think they need to go out and get one of these, because if you look at the contracts that right-hand shot defensemen, especially this offseason, have gotten.
Yeah.
Okay? Seth Jones, did anybody see that ginormous contract that was handed out to him? They're few and far between, guys. Everybody has a slew of left-hand shot defensemen, but very few are prominent right-hand shot defensemen. I mean, look at what we had to essentially give up to get our first pairing right-hand shot defenseman.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And
even Ristolainen, he's going to be our number 3 or 4 defenseman, but we had to give up a first-round pick for him as well. It's just they don't turn out, and they're not as prevalent out there. So if you land a good one, most of the time people keep a hold of them or pay dearly to get one, as we did.
And see, and that's the other thing too. If you can draft one
Yeah.
to have in your system, or two or three, or I mean, how many left-hand shot defensemen do they have?
A slew.
Right. So if we can have that many right-hand shot defensemen as well, hey, I would feel so much better.
But I like Ronnie Attard too. He's still out there, but I don't think he's signed yet. If my memory serves me right. If I'm not, please tell me in the comments. But he's out there. But I mean, that could still potentially be a Wyatt Kolachuk, and just decide to sign elsewhere instead of with the Flyers, because they have so many Cam Yorks and Igor Zumalas and stuff, to bury him on the depth chart before he signs. So who knows? We'll see where that goes. But definitely some good, healthy, corn-fed, kids coming out of this draft with some NHL size already on the right-hand side. So exciting possibilities there for sure.
I like it. And I got to have that big goofy grin a couple of times, because I like to see the kids with that kind of size coming out, especially for right-hand shot defensemen. So, I mean, and everybody and their brother is looking for that. You know what I mean? So the fact that there's going to be that many available, I'm kind of torn, because do I want the Flyers to be able to get one of these really awesome right-hand shot defensemen in the draft? Well, the only way they're going to do that is if they're picking in the top 10.
I don't think so. I mean, I seriously think there'll be guys there at 15. There'll be guys there at 20. There'll be guys there at 25 that are exciting, but maybe not, David and Simon type. But I think they'll be there. I think they'll be there.
Because we said we wanted to be picking 33rd or whatever.
Whatever it is now, yeah.
Yeah, 32nd, 33rd, whatever. I mean, we can dream. What? So, but if you do that and you get to be able to select any one of these four players at that, even if you hypothetically say that the Flyers are going to be one of the last picks in the draft, even if you still have one of these players available. And quite frankly, I think that if the Flyers do end up winning the cup and they do pick at that particular spot, I would potentially trade up to try and get one of those players. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
I think so. I mean, definitely if you can get somebody that you think is going to be ready fairly soon. I wouldn't want to trade up if they weren't going to be ready within a year or two. But right. It's like I said, their right-hand shot guys are few and far between, except this year. So
okay, exactly. But right, you traded away your first-round pick from this past draft.
Right.
So I'm wondering that, the next draft, you have a first-round draft pick. I mean,
I think it develops into, and the deciding factor is going to be just how good they do this year. Yeah. Chuck took a risk this year, and to change that culture in the locker room and to change the personnel up drastically, and he did that. Yeah. And he's made them, on paper at least to this point, a very good chance at reaching the playoffs. So we shall see if that falls on its face, and they don't. I don't think they would risk that again. But if you look at all the best teams that are consistently in the running every year,
yeah,
this is what they do. I mean, this is how Pittsburgh went out and got their players at the deadline every year and magically brought in a 30-goal scorer. This is how Tampa Bay brings in that one big defenseman that helped them raise a cup. Different things. So I mean, if it's proving to work for the Flyers, then I think full steam ahead. Let's risk it. And I haven't seen a cup in my 36 years of being on this earth, and I kind of want to see one. So let's take a shot at it.
I'm with you, and I'm all for the Flyers trying to go for winning a cup, and we, like I said, we can dream. We can say that they'll win. But I think, Lance, in this article you covered 4 great players, 4 great prospective draft picks for the Flyers to definitely be paying attention to. I think with what you said, as well as far as what Chuck has done to this team in the offseason, changing the culture, that I think was a major step. So I think we're going to see exactly. I think you got to be like, I think you have to almost be very critical of the first 25 games based off of everything that's happened, based off of what was said at the end of the season and everything else like that. I think you'd have to look at the first 25 games out of the gates and go, well, Chuck, you better win more than 50% of them games, buddy, or it's going to be not good.
I think they get a good shot at it with the group that they brought in. They brought in proven talent with many years of service, a lot of veteran players, a lot of good guys that either were a C or an A on their jersey. Most of them, I think, an A.
Yep.
But they've been there, they've done this before. I mean, Brassard has well over 100 and some games of playoff experience at that. Nate Thompson's definitely been in the league for some time.
Yandel.
Everybody. Ristolainen, he's still young, but he's been playing in the league a long time. And Ryan Ellis and Cam Atkinson. All these guys are proven players. And,
for sure,
yes, they need to gel together. But I think that's why, training camp is. And I think that's why you see a lot of players every day coming in, slow but sure, a couple weeks ahead of training camp even, to get working with some of the new guys. And you can't forget about Keith Yandel either. That's just a depth 5th or 6th defenseman that is going to solidify that bottom pairing.
There's also a couple other guys too that we didn't even mention that are going to be even more depth and everything else too. And look, I want to get into the other article here that you did.
Sure.
Because yes, we talked about depth, and yes, we talked about a lot of things that changed on the team as far as the additions that were brought in. And this article, posted just the other day, was released on FlyersNittyGritty.com, posted 2 Flyers prospects who have to have a good camp or are in danger of being surpassed on the depth chart. And I can't even begin to tell you how much I agree with you on this one, Lance, right? And before we even get into all this, all right, I want to just say this. I saw that there were some posts out there about the story that you wrote back in August.
Right.
Okay. And with everything that's said, look, I don't get into those conversations. I'm not part of that. Okay. It's my choice. Okay. I find it best for me to keep my opinions to myself, and I use this platform as my opinions.
Right.
Okay. And so I'm going to say this. I hope that all the things that were said about what Morgan Frost has done in the offseason, I hope those are the true, because he's coming off of an injury. He's coming off of a surgery. He needs to do exactly what we said that Joel Farabee did, was go out and put those 12, 13, 15 pounds of bulk on and go out there and act like he's going to try and be somebody. Right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to preface that as we get into this, because we're going to talk about these 2 particular players that I also very much agree with you need to what's the equivalent of balling out? Skating out, whatever. Yeah, I agree. These 2 guys need to be somebody that the coach talks about every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one we're going to talk about is Morgan Frost.
Yeah, so this is a controversial, ongoing thing. And when I write these articles, he is a golden prospect in some people's mind. Both these players that we're going to talk about today, Morgan and Isaac Radcliffe, um, were drafted back in the 2017 NHL entry draft. They're both 22 years old now. They're both first and second round picks who should be contributing more so than they are right now. And just let me preface this as saying, yes, I know a lot of people love Morgan Frost and they love and think that he is the bee's knees and he's going to be the second coming of Wayne Gretzky, whatever you want to say, and don't really want to hear any criticism about him. And I'm really not trying to hate on the guy. I want both of these players to succeed and prove me wrong and go out there and have phenomenal seasons this year. And I hope they do. I hope they do for the team, for themselves, and for the organization and its fans. With that being said, these two players are 22 years old. They had spots times during this developmental camp with the other rookies and different stuff that haven't made the team yet. They look strong. They had some strong showings this past developmental camp, both of them. But as they should, they're 22 years old, out there with guys who were just drafted a couple months ago who were 18.
Yeah.
And the guys from last season, like Tyson Forrester, who we'll talk about in a minute, who are now 19. So they're essentially big fish on a small pond at this point. Let's see what they do in actual camp when all the guys that normally wear the orange and black are coming in now and skating with him. Morgan Frost made the team last season out of training camp and played in 2 NHL games before getting injured, as you alluded to. A very serious injury that required surgery to correct. He's coming highly talented from the Sioux Greyhounds of the OHL, where he had 2 years of over 100 points. All right. The kid has talent for sure. But in that same token, guys after him have surpassed him. And we'll go into that a bit later in some other respected positioning. But one player that he has hot on his trail is Tyson Forrester.
Yeah.
All right. The 2020, first round pick. Okay. Frost has been drafted 4 years now. 4 drafts have went by. And, now it's time to really put up or shut up for him because Forrester is hot on his heels and he has an amazing NHL level shot that few people, even on the Flyers roster, are capable of doing right now. And essentially, I think Forrester, with that shot and how training camp was going, I think very seriously that they may even make a move if everybody in the faceoff dot stays healthy to bring him up at some point if somebody goes down and play him on wing this season. That's how strongly I think his game is. It's legit. Now, the same token, we can look at this as well with the Flyers might not necessarily see Morgan Frost as making the team or be willing to put all their eggs in his basket anymore. With that being said, Derek Brassard was brought in to be that third, potentially fourth center. Okay, Nate Thompson was brought in to be that fourth line center. And that really makes no place for Frost to play with the Flyers next season. So, I mean, essentially, he should have been here in my mind only. He went back up to Canada. I think his mom owns a gym. that's all well and great. He's in there, he's working out, but he wasn't here in Philadelphia, working with guys like in my article where I got a picture of them that from the developmental camp, him working with a guy like Danny Briere all summer, who his game very closely resembles.
Yeah.
And who in just a week or two's time saw major strides in his development from even past camps in my mind. So that's where I kind of wanted to see him. I think that's where the Flyers really wanted to see him this offseason. Obviously, go take a little vacation, but come on back like some of the other players did or hang around here. They're really trying to mold you and be able to get you to that point that they want to get you at. But like I said, Tyson Forrester has been working his butt off. And he was the leading goal scorer for the OHL in his draft year.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a strong showing after a battle with COVID and stuff last season with the Phantoms on a tryout basically basis. And because the OHL was shut down last season, and he stepped in and played phenomenal. And to his credit, he's already 6'2" and weighs 195 pounds, which is more productive and the size that we like to see essentially. And being able to play that Flyers type hockey and last and sustain a full season potentially. So
not get checked into the boards.
Second
like a normal check and have to have season-ending shoulder surgery. I mean,
I think Sean Couturier took that same kind of nasty hit last season, and he was out for a couple weeks, but he was back. And if you've seen Sean Couturier at practice, I guarantee you he's the first one on and the last one off at all times. Every practice, putting in that work, and it shows, and his ability to recover and everything as well. So.
The thing that you mentioned the most here, and this is what I like the most about this, is that, yes, Morgan Frost is a top prospect for the Flyers. And I can see why. When you come out of juniors with that amount of points and everything like that, yep, I can see that. He's had some opportunities. He's not cashed in on those opportunities, and then he got hurt last year, which really kind of set him back.
Yeah.
So you can't hold that against a player, and I'm not,
no.
And we're not. We're really not. But I'm going to say this, okay? And you even mentioned this in your article, too, about Morgan Frost and Isaac Radcliffe. These guys were not drafted by Fletcher.
Right.
Tyson Forrester was drafted by Fletcher.
Right.
And he's already bigger than Frost, already has a better game than Frost. I mean, with what we've seen of Tyson Forrester, he still has. I think Tyson still needs time.
I think he has some growing pains for sure. But if somebody were to get hurt, I would be interested to see him up for a game or two. I don't want to see him necessarily up all season unless he comes up and just sets Philadelphia on fire. But I'd rather see him get some major time in the Phantoms playing on a first line.
Yeah.
Because of the extreme depth that's going to be in Lehigh, I think it'll do him good. And but definitely he has some NHL level qualities already. Morgan Frost is very fast and everything and elusive at times, but he has been unable to finish to this point at the NHL level.
Yeah.
I think Forrester can finish at the NHL level right now.
See, that's what we need to see.
That's the difference. When you want a guy to come up and replace a guy, if you got a winger like James Van Riemsdyk that goes down, that scores 20, 30 goals a season, I need that guy to finish to replace him in the lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's for a short time because he's still developing, I need him to finish.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? And I think that with competition breeds better quality players. So when you have a guy nipping at your heels, you tend to play a little better. You tend to be up on your skates a little more. And now that I think that Morgan knows that, the horses are coming, buddy.
Yeah.
So you either need to, crap or get off the pot.
Well, that too, and if he wasn't injured right now, another guy like Wisdom, who was drafted, the same year as Forrester, is a real deal prospect as well in my mind, and he could play that grinder third or fourth center very nicely. And I mean, even last season during training camp last season, he impressed me a lot.
He impressed the coaching staff a lot.
A lot.
Okay, so when you come out and impress the coaching staff, the fact that he even got invited to camp, you don't invite, what was he, 4th round draft pick?
4th round, yeah.
You don't usually get a 4th round draft pick get invited to camp that first year you get drafted. You get invited to developmental camp.
Right.
But you don't ever get invited to main camp unless he opened up some eyes in developmental camp, which he did.
That he did.
So now, all right, so we talked about Morgan Frost, and I just wanted to clear the air here. Look, we are not about putting any player down. We always are for the players. We always want to see the players do well. We always want to see the players be successful, okay? It's like with anything else, though, in life. Sometimes you try to take a bite at the apple and you can't. Sometimes you get up to bat and you swing and you strike out, and that's just the way life is. And there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with trying to do it. You know what I'm saying? All I'm trying to say is this. Lance, you wrote some articles, and you're entitled to your opinion about your articles.
Right.
And that's why you write those articles. And just like everybody else is entitled to their opinions, and that's why they have their platform to express their opinions.
Right. Yeah, and I'll leave you with this note on that topic. It's different. Oscar Lindblom was a 5th round pick. He took 4 or 5 years to develop, but he was a 5th round pick, and look what he is now. Morgan Frost was a 1st round pick. Nolan Patrick was drafted much higher in the 1st round, but he was drafted in the same draft year. And missing a whole season with concussion-like symptoms and having to have surgery after being drafted to repair a hernia or whatever he had, he still played in 200 games for the Flyers before we traded him.
Yeah.
Morgan Frost is an aging prospect that we drafted with a 1st round pick.
Yeah. That
has not been able to produce or stay healthy last season. It's time. And like we said, Chuck Fletcher did not draft him. He has no qualms. Obviously, like he showed with Myers, a lot of people like Myers. A lot of people like Nolan Patrick, that essentially me and you didn't really agree with that claim that a lot of people just overly love Nolan Patrick and wanted him to be something that he wasn't. And, because he was a high drafted prospect and they wanted him to be something that he wasn't. But with that same token, he got rid of both those guys because they weren't his guys. He had no reason to hold on to them another season to protect them and protect his draft stock, and his decision making. So
that's not part of his legacy. Those players aren't part of his. Yeah.
Right. And if Morgan Frost doesn't have outstanding camp and prove himself this season, I think before he doesn't have anything left as far as trade value, he might be traded. Now, again, I hope he does. I hope he comes out and proves me wrong in saying this, and I hope he can put in 20 goals like a Mr. Joel Farabee did, who was drafted after him in 2018 1st round, who was already signed to a huge contract that's paying him $5 million a season, and was the leading goal scorer for the Flyers last season. Again, he was drafted after Morgan Frost and Isaac Radcliffe, and already at that. So I think that's another thing that is an eye-opening experience in saying, hey, look, this guy is drafted after us and he's here. Not all prospects develop at the same rate for sure, but it's been 4 years in your first round draft pick.
That's what I want to talk about right there. Okay. Is that level right there. Okay. When you're a first round draft pick, your expectations are you get that 1 or 2 years of development, and then by the third year, you should be at least playing 12, 13 minutes a night on the big club as a first round draft pick. I mean, you would assume that given, 2 years to play in the juniors or whatever, and then you make it out of camp in your third year, you know what I mean? But so I'm with you. Like I said, we're all hoping that Morgan does make it. We're all hoping that he is successful, because he could be that player for the Flyers. And then if he does those things and he becomes that player, then that's
I'll gladly
great.
eat crow. I'll gladly eat crow.
Well, I'm not trying to say that we need to eat crow. It's just that we're looking at this, I believe, with some realistic glasses here.
Yes.
Okay. It's time for a first round draft pick after 4 years to put up or shut up. Right? And we've pointed out that Chuck has no ties to him. He's not part of his legacy. So if he doesn't put up or shut up, guess what? Sayonara. He'll be gone.
Yeah.
I mean, what else is there to say about that? How much more simple and cut and dry does it need to be than that?
Yeah.
Right? There you go. Okay, so the next guy that we're going to talk about isn't quite as highly touted. Okay, but still is kind of facing that same situation. Right? And that's Isaac Radcliffe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So Isaac was drafted in the second round of the 2017 draft, and he has all the intangibles any prospect who's trying to make an NHL club could ever want. He's 6'6", and he weighs over 200 pounds. He was a 50-goal scorer for the Storm in the OHL. He was a phenomenal talent. He had some problems this season with COVID and everything like that. It really hurt him. Kind of took him a while to get back to 100%.
Yeah.
But at the same time, last season he scored 2 goals with the Phantoms, and the season before that, I think he scored 6 in 53 games played. That last season he only played in 22 with being sick and all, but he scored 2 goals. I'm going to need more from you at this point. 4 years out, I'm going to need more from you.
That would be putting it mildly at that size.
And, like I said, he already got surpassed by Farabee, who was the winger prospect, who was drafted after him, who has had 2 great seasons in the NHL already, became the team's top scorer, and secured a substantial contract in the NHL for him to play for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
All right. But Isaac as well has somebody else coming up on his heels. Another Chuck Fletcher guy, and Elliot Desjardins. And he is a 2020 draft pick, just like Forrester, him being drafted in the 5th round. That is already played well enough to deserve and did sign a NHL entry-level contract. Okay, he had a phenomenal year for the Halifax Mooseheads in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. he was scoring last season at a rate of 1.32 points per game. That's pretty darn good. 21 goals, 28 assists for 49 points in 37 games played, while being a plus 12 and a plus 13 for the past 2 seasons. He's ready. He's nipping at the heels, and he looked well in developmental camp as well.
Yeah.
And I really can't wait to see him with the Phantoms and see what he has. And I mean, he again is 19. He's 19. Not 22 like the other guys are. He's showing this at 19, and Isaac really hasn't shown me anything since turning pro with the Phantoms. Yeah. I really, really liked that pick at the time when the Flyers selected him back in 2017. I thought he was going to develop into be a big bruising player that can potentially score a lot of goals, and he just really hasn't taken that next step in his development to be able to be that player at the NHL level yet. But to Radcliffe's credit, he came in this developmental camp and he claims that he feels among all the years prior that he is bigger, stronger, and faster than he's ever been, and he's really ready to make that next step. And God, I hope so. I'm ready to see this kid turn it up and be that force that he was in juniors for sure.
Well, let's pretend like we're in the show me state of Missouri and show me.
Yeah.
Right? Because let's face it, you guys, both of these players, Morgan Frost and Isaac Radcliffe, need to have a phenomenal camp. And I believe that if they don't, there is a handful of guys that are already either part of the team or part of the system that'll be more than capable of, replacing those 2 guys without a question.
And I think these are two players that could really take that pedestal that these 2 prospects have been placed on for some time now and take that over. And with not much more effort, if these guys don't have a good camp and don't really turn it up. And of course, like I said, Morgan Frost made the team last season, but with those 2 recent signings of depth players, Chuck's really blocked any chance of them making the NHL club out of camp, and really has leaned on the side of caution, because last season they were kind of hurt depth-wise when he went down. And he wasn't able to produce for him. So, I think he went with some veteran players that are proven that they can stay healthy, that they can stay in the game, and that have a lot of NHL experience. And I think he wants to win now. And among all other years, this is going to be a great time to go to Lehigh Valley and see a game. There's going to be some great players down there this season, and I really, really want to make it up to see a couple of games this season.
Well, I live stone's throw away from where the Bears play, and I know they play the Phantoms multiple times a year, so more than welcome to do that for sure, man. I would love to do that. That would be cool. So with that being said, I'm going to say this. I think that these 2 players need to bring it to the table. And if they don't, they're probably not going to be anywhere close to eating at the table. Because if they can't bring it, then it's got to be time to move on.
And with as much as they wagered, the team has wagered was as far as first round picks, and really went out and traded Voracek and all these guys to really make this team a success once again. I really wouldn't put it past them to be on the trading block if they were to. Remember, they already traded their first round pick. So come the trade deadline, if one of these players were asked about to acquire a guy that could push the Flyers over the hump, in order to require somebody else that could do that. I really think that if these guys don't really make an impact this early on in this season, I think that could potentially happen. In order to try to win now, and that you don't go out and trade a first round pick, and you don't go out and make all these major changes that Chuck has done and not try to win now. Be expected of that, and don't be surprised if and when that happens, if the Flyers find themselves to be in need of a certain anybody, forward, defenseman, goaltender, with injuries and everything else this season, and COVID still lingering around, don't be surprised if they trade one of these guys at the trade deadline, is my assumption here.
I'm with you on that. I agree. And like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from the players, and I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody else that has an opinion. That's the beauty of having shows like this, and the beauty of having podcasts and everything like that, is that you get your own platform where you get to express your own opinions. And that's all I want to say about that as far as that's concerned. And so this is where I get a chance to express my opinions. I agree. I think both of these players are great prospects, but I think it's time that they need to show what they have, show what they can do. And if they are able to do that, man, bravo, because in the end, all we care about is the team winning. So if Morgan Frost and Isaac Radcliffe or whoever, I don't care who it is, right? If it's Bob Smith up the street, right? If it's the Zamboni driver, right? If it's whoever can stop the puck the best, whoever can put the puck in the net the best, whoever can, you know what I mean? That's as long as it's going to help this team win, right? That's what it's got to be about, right? It's got to be about the wins, because you're right. They've put all the eggs in the basket for this year. Yeah. You know what I mean? With the first round draft pick being traded away and everything like that, all the moves, all the cap space that was made so that these moves could be done.
Yeah. And Ron, really, I feel ashamed in you. You mentioned a Zamboni driver before, a certain writer that would come out of the nosebleeds to fill in for a third goalie or something if somebody got injured.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I'll keep
my
pads.
All right. Listen, I'll keep my pads in the truck, Chuck. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, all right. There you go, right? You heard it here first. We got the living legend, the man with the pads in the truck. If you need him, Lance, you'll be there for sure. All right, good deal. I like it. Well, with that being said, we are going to wrap up show number 44.
All right.
Holy moly. Man, can you believe it? 44 already. Thanks for accepting the fact that we were gone last week, and really appreciate your patience. But we would like to put out the big salute to Flyers Nitty Gritty, making Bleacher Reports 41 weeks in a row. So even though we didn't put a show out last week, the show we put out the week before made it to Bleacher Report. So every time we put a show out, so thank you very much for that. Lance, how can we get you? Where can we find your articles? And how can we follow you on Twitter?
Sure. All my stuff is on flyersnittygritty.com and steelflyers.com as well. You can find me on Twitter at LNGBASSIST, the number's 39.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. You can find me on the web at www.steelflyers.com, and you can check me out on Twitter at SteelFlyers52. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the Hockey Writers Inc. We will catch you all the next time.